morning and welcome to the July 30th Community of Practice meeting, where we aim to foster alignment, coordination, and collaboration within the statewide digital equity ecosystem. On behalf of the State of California and the Department of Technology, we thank you for being here. Please use the chat box to share your name, job title, and affiliated organization as more folks are coming in. Before we begin, a few housekeeping items. Next slide, please. Presenters, please cue Ricky to advance your slides. Select side-by-side speaker mode for the best viewing experience when slides are shared and for visibility of the ASL interpreters. Closed captioning is available by selecting CC closed caption on your toolbar and select Show Subtitle. If you cannot find it, please click the icon with the three dots for more options. Please note there is time allocated for questions. Use the Q&A box to type your questions related to that portion of the agenda while the speaker is presenting. Use the raise hand icon on Zoom or *9 if you're calling in by phone, and come off mute or video to participate. Chat will be off while the presenters are speaking so that no questions are lost in the chat. Chat will be available when prompted. This meeting is being recorded. We will be posting the recording, slides, and transcripts of this meeting to the Broadband for All portal. Use the QR code listed on your screen or click on the link in the chat to access the post-meeting materials from past events. Because of this, AI note-taking bots are not permitted and will be removed from the meeting. Next slide. Today's agenda, because this is a community of practice and not a webinar, we want to encourage bi-directional conversations and active participation. Because of that, we wanted to state some baseline understandings here so that only questions and comments on agenda items can be addressed. The chat will be monitored, but only to ensure that there are no disruptive behaviors will not be tolerated. We don't think there's going to be a problem, but individuals with disruptive behaviors will be removed from the meeting. Next slide, please. Today's agenda will begin with a welcome, then Middle Mile Broadband Initiative update. Next, we will hear updates on the California Lifeline Home Broadband Pilot Program and the Digital Equity Resource Finder. Then CDT will host a roundtable discussion with our new digital inclusion partnership, where partners will share how organizations may utilize these resources to support residents in their communities. Afterward, we will provide a brief demo on how to sign up using the Digital Inclusion Partnership Resource Sign-Up Form. Last on the agenda is CDT OBDL updates on upcoming grant opportunities and future meetings. Now I will hand the mic over to Engagement and Operations Manager, Ann Nguyen.
Thanks so much. And thank you everyone for adding your feedback during the registration process and partnering with us to develop a very collaborative community of practice. Here are some key points when we ask about how we can improve your experiences. Issuing the recordings faster. We're looking into our timeline and can definitely work on that. Trainer trainings is something that I hope you keep an ear out for, that our digital inclusion partners will share more in a little bit. A high-level recap document and post highlighting important topics. We do have minutes on past events, but do let us know how we can capture those topics better for you. Connect to older and people with disabilities communities. This meeting and community practice is open to the public. Please bring folks and invite folks as needed and let us know how we can help you get the word out. You'll hear from our staff on grants and contract information. So again, the agenda will cover that. Share a municipal project affiliated with this program. I think you'll hear a bit on that too from Mark in a little bit. And then the last two bullet are topics that will be covered through our digital inclusion partnership. So I'm glad that we're aligned on some of these suggestions. So next slide, please. And then for questions that you have for us, again, a lot of these you'll hear from our digital inclusion partners now that we're able to share the resources with you. And again, for workforce training needs, we actually just talked about a North State workforce report at the California Broadband Council. We'll connect with you and share resources there. And let us know how we can help you promote broadband in your community. Again, this meeting is open to the public, and a lot of our newsletters continue to update folks on the monthly progress of Broadband for All. And the last two, I wanted to emphasize that the partnership opportunities that we will talk about will cover how you can participate and what resources are available. So, next slide, please, as I introduce our next speaker. Although we usually focus on Broadband for All Goal 2, which focuses on affordable service and necessary devices, and Goal 3, which focuses on digital literacy training and support, we recognize that many partners on the call have asked about infrastructure updates. So we shortened today's community feedback summary and make room for an exciting update from Deputy Director Mark Monroe from the Middle Mile Broadband Initiative. Over to you, Mark.
All right, thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Mark Monroe, Deputy Director for the Middle Mile Broadband Initiative here at CDT. Appreciate the opportunity to provide this group with an update on the significant progress the CDT team has made on the Middle Mile Broadband Network. We've reached several important milestones this year that reflect the program's continued transition from network development into statewide operations. We jump to the next slide. First, in terms of our progress in constructing the network, since CDT started this project back in 2021, we've built a team while partnering to design an 8,000-mile network that reaches every county in the state. Fast forward to now, and we are glad to have more than 80% of the statewide network now having been permitted, representing nearly 800 additional miles being permitted just since in the last quarter. At the same time, a statewide fiber construction now exceeds the halfway point, with another 336 miles of fiber completed over that same time period. And we're also seeing strong progress in the repeater huts that will enable network activation. Caltrans has completed its design work for the on right-of-way huts, and construction is now underway on 53 hut sites across the state, including 36 that have broken ground just since April. While we're encouraged by this continued progress in building the network, the milestone that we've all really been working towards at CDT here is the ability to deliver actual service to California communities. The Middle Mile Broadband Network has officially begun transitioning into operations, as you may have heard. Skyline Technology Solutions has completed its onboarding as the network operator and is now responsible for service activation, network monitoring, incident response, and maintenance coordination. Nearly 1,300 route miles are now operational and available to support customer connections. I'm also pleased to report that our team has executed its first master service agreements with FFA awardees, supporting already 9 FFA projects that will be able to start connecting to the network later this year as construction on the FFA projects is completed. These milestones really capture the progress of the program, and I wanted to take a moment to recognize the tremendous work of the MMBI team and the OBDL teams, as well as our other many partners in reaching this point. It's required tremendous initiative, creativity, collaboration, and sustained commitment. And I really want to thank CDT's team members who've contributed to making all of this possible. I want to jump to the next slide. CDT set several key goals for 2026, and I'd like to provide a brief update on the progress we've made in these commitments. The completed items on the left illustrate how much the program has evolved over the past several months. Skyline has been onboarded as the network operator. The first operational routes are now in service. Master service agreements are being executed, and communities can now begin connecting to the network. First, Skyline Technology Solutions has completed its onboarding. I think we had announced this earlier this year. They're establishing a statewide network operations was a foundational milestone because it allows CDT to begin delivering service and as additional segments come online. Second, CDT has begun executing its first master service agreements with customers, such as the FFA awardees, marking the transition from customer planning and the coordination work that we've been doing to formalizing these relationships. Third, as I've noted, nearly 1,300 miles are now operational, including more than 800 additional operational miles since in the past quarter. That represents one of the clearest indicators to us that the program has progressed beyond construction and into active service delivery. The items on the right, the work that continues to expand the network's operational footprint, and we are on track to achieving these objectives as well. Construction of the repeater huts continues to advance. Hut installation, utility coordination, and equipment deployment remain essential because, as we all know, these facilities transform installed fiber into actually service-ready infrastructure. We're also maintaining our current construction forecast. By the end of 2026, CDT expects approximately 5,300 miles to have been constructed, about 65% of the network, with approximately 4,300 miles activated and available to support customer connections as last mile projects become ready for service. And finally, our coordination with tribal governments and FFA awardees continues to move forward. Agreements are being executed to support future customer connections, and these partnerships remain central to fulfilling the objectives established originally under SB 156. I'm going to jump to the next slide. This update really illustrates that the program's transition from network development into statewide operations. As I've shared previously, operational routes are now available for communities and providers to begin connecting to the MNBN. And the green route here shows on the map reflects the operational network as of July 2026. While the gray routes identify the broader MNBN segments that remain under development, the green route here is where communities can begin to connect. The operational routes extends from San Jose, south to LA, east to Barstow, north through California's Eastern Corridor with connectivity to a data center in Reno, and then continues up through Modoc County into the Oregon border. This portion of the network is available to support customer connections now. Skyline Technology Solutions assumed responsibility for operating the network on July 6th. Their responsibilities include 24/7 network monitoring, maintenance coordination, incident response, and supporting customer service delivery across operational segments. This represents an important evolution for the program. While permitting and construction remain a significant focus, we'll now also be tracking and reporting on the operational performance and customer onboarding. California's middle mile broadband network is now open for business. And consistent with this, CDT's customer solutions team has continued working closely with the FFA grant recipients planning to connect to the MNBN. As I've noted previously, 65 FFA last mile projects anticipate using the network to extend broadband service into unserved and underserved communities throughout California. And our ongoing coordination is focused on understanding each project's deployment schedule and aligning those timelines with the availability of the middle mile network. We've completed our master service agreements for both dark fiber and lit service, and since late June, we've begun providing these agreements to the interested FFA awardees. As of today, CDT has executed agreements supporting 9 FFA projects located in 8 different counties. This marks another important milestone, demonstrating the shared commitment between CDT and our FFA partners to expand broadband access throughout California. It also moves these projects from planning towards implementation as future MNBN customers. And in the coming weeks, we anticipate executing additional master service agreements with FFA recipients and other customers, allowing service orders to be submitted to Skyline so that network service can be activated as those projects become construction ready. Next slide. Next, it's worth mentioning, sorry, I missed a point here. We wanted to highlight quickly the tribal partnerships that we've been able to work with some of the tribes. When we, I think some of you will be familiar with Matt Rantanen, who has been the tribal liaison with GSN, and he's had literally hundreds of meetings with tribes across the state, helping them understand what opportunities might be available. CDT currently has partnerships with 5 tribes here, just in terms of developing and building out the network, and partnering as joint build partners. Then we also have three partnerships with tribes for locating the huts on the land, which is great. It provides easy access for the tribes, as well as providing a place for the repeater huts that wouldn't fit on Caltrans right of way. You want to jump to the next slide? So you may recall that one of the program's earliest milestones was connecting the first customer to the MNBN, and that customer was a tribal community, a Bishop tribe, Paiute tribe. They've been outstanding partners throughout that effort. They graciously hosted 100 plus attendees this past April to celebrate the network's first operational connection. We all got to see the governor come out and flip the switch on that one. Looking ahead, though, more than 30 additional tribal governments are actively planning to connect to the state's middle mile network as well. 24 tribal governments have middle mile routes crossing their tribal lands. An additional 11 tribal governments are evaluating plans to extend broadband infrastructure from their communities across non-tribal lands to connect to our network. These partnerships they directly support the objectives established in SB 156, which specifically identifies tribal communities as one of the central priorities for expanding broadband access throughout California. Next slide, please.
That's it, Mark. Thank you so much.
If that's the last one, I wanted to just note to everyone, we do, in addition to our quarterly MMAC meetings, we also do quarterly stakeholder engagement meetings. So if folks are interested in participating, it's another place to get a little more detail about the project and ask some questions. You can contact us at middlemile@state.ca.gov for more information on how to join, and appreciate the opportunity to be able to provide this group a status update on this project.
Appreciate that, Mark, and thank you for your time. The group celebrated the collective accomplishment, and we'll look forward to hearing more. Next, I would like to bring up Lisa Anthony from CPUC to give a brief update on the California Lifeline Home Broadband Pilot Program. Go ahead, Lisa.
Thanks so much, Anne. I am normally here with my colleague Loy. She is out today, so you're stuck with me, and I'm going to do the update for the both of us. If I can get the next slide, please. As per usual, I will start by giving you an update on the service providers for the home broadband pilot. To date, we have received a total of 19 advice letters submitted for service providers wanting to participate in the broadband pilot program. Of those, we only have one that is still in the pending review for Connect to Communications. 5 have been approved but are not yet enrolling. They're in the onboarding process with our third-party administrator, getting their systems connected. They have to get marketing materials approved. So they're in that process, those 5. But we now do have 13 service providers that are fully approved, have completed their onboarding, and are now enrolling customers. So really excited for that. Next slide, please. So this is going to give you our current subscriber count on the broadband pilot. These numbers are pretty recent, though it's not as of like this morning, but as of last Monday, the 20th of July, we had a total of 22,012 individuals subscribed into the broadband pilot program. Of those, we have 18,004 individuals that are new, 4,005 that are transfers, and 3 reconnects. And a reconnect is that they fell off one service provider, but they reconnected very quickly afterwards. So for whatever reason, they fell off shortly, but were reconnected in less than 30 days. Interesting and pretty exciting to note that of these enrollments, it's still very heavily driven by new enrollments and not transfers. And just as a reminder, transfers is an individual was already enrolled in the California Lifeline program and receiving that discount on either a wireline or wireless service, and they chose to transfer their discount over to the broadband pilot program. So we're seeing still very heavy, 82% weighted as new enrollments versus about 18% of transfer rates. What you might notice as a changing number is in the service type. So broadband only is still the primary, coming in at 66% with 14,494 individuals enrolled in broadband only, and 34%, which is 7,518 in the bundled broadband. That is a little bit of a change from the beginning. It was very heavily weighted early on as like an 80% broadband only. And so we have seen that start to even out a little bit more and more, where it went to like 75-25 split and now 66-34. So it does appear over time, more individuals are interested in the bundled broadband than initially. Next slide, please. So a reminder for you that we do have now a one-page flyer. This was heavily requested by some community-based organizations that were having events and said it would be really helpful if we had a one-page flyer that tells a little bit about what the broadband pilot program is, what kind of discount can I get, and how can I get started. So we put this together. It's available currently in English, Spanish, and Chinese. Those were the 3 most heavily requested languages. So those are available now. And we are working on additional translations in Korean, Japanese, Tagalog, Vietnamese, and Braille. And actually, after the last meeting, I did receive a request from another group that they gave me a list of languages that they said would also be very helpful. So probably another 10 languages we're working on, as well as the ones that I just mentioned. So the ones that are available now is a great segue to the next bullet point here. These are all posted on the Home Broadband Pilot webpage. So this is a link you can click on. And if you can take me to the next slide, please. Perfect, thank you. So on that webpage, this is kind of a snapshot of what you will see. You'll get just like an overview. You will get instructions for how service providers can participate, eligibility. You'll see a map of service providers by region. And then these flyers you will find under additional information section. So we try and give you a lot of information, resources that you can use right at your fingertips. And you can keep checking back there. We update it pretty frequently. And that takes us to next slide, please.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Lisa. I really appreciate your ongoing updates on behalf of the Public Utilities Commission. We would like to open up the floor for folks to have any questions, or if you have any comments specific to the Lifeline program. So thank you all for your ongoing participation, and very exciting to see the increase in service providers, subscribers, and just the materials that you continue to develop in many languages. All right, so the chat is now open. Just want to make sure that folks chime in via chat or raise your hand and feel free to ask a question. We don't see any questions coming in just yet. And I know, oh, looks like I do have two folks that just raised their hand. Roberto Rodriguez, would you like to go ahead and unmute yourself?
Yes, thank you so much. Is there a map of where these different providers are providing the broadband? Because I know from last time that was something that was requested by some of our families that we serve, like what areas have which service provider. I don't know if there's a map.
Yeah, so what you'll see right now on the CPUC website that will be linked in this presentation, there is a map of where service providers are. It is not, I will say, like a great drill down. That is an enhancement we have on our list with our third-party administrator for the California Lifeline website. We would love it where you kind of have a heat map and you can drill in really closely, like down to zip codes, and see the different service providers, anything like that that you can drill into with a map. We want to get there. So you can see a general map right now, but I'll just say it's not for someone like just going into to kind of scroll through and see their options. Not wonderful. But what they can do currently is they can input their zip code in the provider search, and that will populate a list of service providers that offer the pilot in their area for them, and as well as the plans.
Thank you so much for answering that, Lisa. And I do see one additional hand that's raised, and then maybe a couple that came in through the chat, but I do understand you have to get going, so we will go ahead and just take the raised hand at the moment by Mark. Mark, would you like to unmute yourself?
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you for the presentation, Lisa. Just a quick question. Are you tracking enrollees that had been unable to maintain their internet connection after ACP was canceled and now are getting a new connection because of the Lifeline program?
That's a great question. Drilling down to specifically who was in ACP, no, because we didn't run it. So we didn't have that connection. But I will say that when ACP was ending, Lifeline subscriber base surged. We were really seeing an influx as that was ending. And so I think it's very natural progression that people that were in ACP, and as that was winding down, they were transitioning over to Lifeline to still get a discount. But to actually see like an individual to individual, we don't have that connection. But I would say definitely safe to say we're seeing a lot of those subscribers.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Mark. And thank you so much, Lisa. We will go ahead and capture the questions that came in through the chat and send them over your way for a response. And that way we do need to move along into the next portion of our agenda. Thank you again.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa. Thanks, Araceli. And no, they'll be back. So we'll make sure to send questions to them. Can I have the slides back up, please? While that's happening, I just want to get started by, again, thanking folks for answering questions in our registration. Next slide. About our Digital Equity Resource Finder. So really glad to hear that folks are aware of the DE Resource Finder that we've been updating on these calls, but I do recognize that there's a large portion of you who have not heard about it. So we want to make sure, you know, to partner with those who do to spread the word, and also we'll make sure to link this in the chat. And so when we ask if you're able to help promote the DE Resource Finder, many of you, 84% say yes. So in the next slide, I will kind of show you the tools and resources to do so. But definitely thank you for the partnership. Thanks for helping us spread the word. And we'll make sure that the 43% who have not heard about it decreases over time. So next slide, please. All right, so on our Broadband portal is the Digital Equity Resource Finder Outreach Toolkit. Amanda dropped the link in the chat and the QR code here. We have preset templates for email and newsletters, social media graphic, like the 9 that you see here, and also suggested language. So it's a very easy copy paste into your LinkedIn, your other social media account, as well as any newsletter and emails that you send out to constituents. So let us know, though, if there's any issues or if you're looking for a language beyond the English and Spanish that we have here. Quick reminder, too, the page can be translated to all 100 plus languages. So if one of the template is not in your language and you need help finding that, let us know and we're happy to help. Next slide, please. All right. So we've been doing really well promoting and raising awareness of the Digital Equity Resource Finder. And due to our collective progress, we've received 15 more new organizations in the Digital Equity Resource Finder and 73 new locations. So continue to grow this database from April to now. A few of our partnerships I want to mention here from state entities, including California Connect, California State Library, and the Department of Rehabilitation, from Library System, which thank you for continued to add your resources to the Finder. As you see, the majority of the digital inclusion resources so far on the DE Resource Finder has been from library, and a lot of time you all are the only resource in that county. So please continue to add your resources there. Nonprofit organization, we've heard from Chinese for Affirmative Action, Dev Mission, Independent Living Resource Center of SF, New Wave Community Media, as well as OTAN. With local government partnership, we partner with City of San Diego SD Access for All to add new locations in the city. And I want to feature County of Los Angeles and highlight our partnership where CDT worked with LA County ISD to embed the DE Resource Finder onto the county website and pre-search search results to LA County. So what this demonstrates is the efficient use of our public resources to maximize impact across California. But with that, I would like to invite LA County Director of Digital Equity, Rebecca Kalma, to share a little bit more about this partnership. Rebecca, are you able to? There you are. Over to you.
Awesome. Thank you. I was unable to unmute at first, but happy Thursday. I hope you guys are all doing well. Again, my name is Rebecca Kaluma. I am the inaugural Director of Digital Equity for the County of Los Angeles, and thank you to the CDT team for working closely with us. So just to provide you guys with a little bit of context, and we have many of our partners and stakeholders in the room, so I also want to take the time to celebrate them and say thank you, because pretty much their work allowed us to be able to make this project come to life. So just to start off and provide a little bit of context, so we are in the process of finalizing our first ever digital equity roadmap, and many of our partners helped to shape that. But as part of those efforts, we wanted to ensure that we were able to uplift the existing efforts that our stakeholder organizations are already doing, and most importantly, not duplicate any efforts. So as part of our engagement efforts, we were going to reach out to them and have them share their digital equity assets that they currently have within their respective organizations. But we realized that at the time when we were about to send that out, CDT was doing something similar. So we were like, hey, how can we work together and be a lot more strategic? So that way we're being a lot more mindful of our partners' time, because time is money. In addition to that, making sure that we're uplifting existing efforts that are already taking place. So we were able to connect with the CDT team and figure out how can we promote their survey and utilize that data to help inform the work that we wanted to do here. So many of our partners already know that back in January, we were encouraging you guys to all complete that survey, and we were able to take a lot of that data and great insight and inform our roadmap. But another thing that we also wanted to do as part of our engagement process is also ensure that we could also have a tailorized digital equity resource finder that could be on our website so that we were able to direct our residents as well as the stakeholders that we're working with to this and only show what is available in Los Angeles County. So what that entailed was obviously us connecting back with the CDT team again. We also looped in our communications and website professionals. So we were able to take an iframe, and this is something that I completely didn't know about until I started embarking on this effort, but we were able to take an iframe and ultimately embed the digital equity resource finder in a way that would showcase all of the resources and services that are respective to Los Angeles County proper. So we now officially have that on our website, the ISC website, and we are going to be officially launching and promoting it once we go live with our digital equity roadmap, which we're in the process of reporting back to the County Board of Supervisors in the next couple of weeks. So we're just so thankful for this partnership. And I also just want to underscore the fact that it's important for us to continue to work together. I know a lot of us are all doing similar efforts. So if there's any way that you can partner with the state or other respective organizations within the region or in your cities, I would highly encourage that, because oftentimes we're doing similar work. And I think it's great for us to come together, reduce that duplication, ultimately be more effective in the digital equity activities that we're trying to do. So that's all that I have. I'm just very thankful for our partnership and our relationship, and it was great to work with you guys. I'm looking forward to future collaboration and opportunities.
Thanks so much, Rebecca. We love working with you and your team, so I'm glad this project happened and excited to hear all about the roadmap. It's coming up soon. Yeah, thanks so much. Now I would like to introduce James Spencer, our Broadband Administrative Manager, to share about the digital inclusion partnerships. Over to you, James.
And thank you, Anne. We can go to the next slide, please. So remember that we sought out no cost and low cost offers to help achieve the aims of goals 2 and 3 of the Broadband for All action plan and implement key activities of the state digital equity plan. And so the alignment with the action plan and SDEP is that we set goals or targets around enrolling residents, digital literacy training, digital navigation and support, devices, etc. And we can go to the next slide, please. So the goals and targets we set are directly aligned with our strategies and key activities to support California residents in overcoming digital equity barriers and closing the state's digital divide. Through the no cost and low cost partnerships we established and the services, tools, and resources we now have available, we hope to reach and possibly even exceed the goals you see here. Next slide, please. And so these are the 7 digital inclusion partners, and this is a high-level description of the activities they will be doing to support the ecosystem. Don't worry about capturing all this information right now. We'll share these slides with you. And so later you'll hear more about how to begin using the resources. But right now I want to invite Scott Adams to facilitate a conversation with partners. Scott.
Thank you so much, James. And could we actually keep the slides up and go to the next slide real quick? I also would like to invite Kat Zygmunt from CETF, Patrick Messick and Cynthia Diaz from East Bay Broadband, Diana Rodriguez from Everyone On, Teresa Sladek from North Star, Sabrina Tam from Digital Lift, Aaron Larandos from Human IT, and Amy Huffman from the National Digital Inclusion Alliance. And so, folks, as James said, we set out to fill a gap with these digital inclusion partnerships. We know there's a ton of resources out there in the state through the California Advanced Service Fund, some recent merger, public benefit agreements, private sector funding, and local efforts. But still, there's a gap where a lot of folks who come here have been asking, is there free training and resources to support digital inclusion work in our area? And that's what these digital inclusion partnerships were designed to address. And so this slide here will be made available. If you go to the next slide, please. We're going to shape our conversation today around how each of the partners will address some of the activities we were seeking to find answers to. So the staff's going to take this slide down. They're going to drop it in the chat so you can follow around. And so really, one of the main goals of Broadband for All and SDEP is promoting and tracking low enrollment and low-cost service offers, and helping to streamline enrollment. So at and Diana, you guys are your organization, CTF, and everyone on are taking two different approaches here. And so, Kat, um, could you tell folks here how your partnership with the state is working to or can be leveraged to support local entities through the call center, et cetera?
Absolutely. So the Get Connected call center will be providing a toll-free number for CDT so that anyone can call our call center. We help individuals understand what affordable offers are, what's available to them, and then we facilitate a call with the ISP provider and get them online. We will also be working with CDT to incorporate the digital ID platform into our call center operations, and providing data for a dashboard to see, the enrollments that are happening, and in particular, trying to track the Lifeline broadband pilot enrollments. So we're very excited about the opportunity.
Yeah, that's great. It's kind of a multifaceted partnership, Kat. And like you said, I think the call center to help provide enrollment assistance with folks is great. For folks here, are there different languages available to organizations who choose to direct residents to the call center?
Absolutely. We have literally in the past week expanded our pool of call center grantees, and we have over 20 languages, I believe, at this point. So obviously English and Spanish. We have a variety of Asian languages, Farsi, Arabic. We can publish the list of languages now, but it has been significantly expanded in the past month. And so what happens is you'll get a prompt to choose your language, and if one of those operators is unavailable, you leave a message and they'll call you back same day or next day to assist you.
And thank you. And I know a lot of our efforts are going to be around reestablishing the state agency internet service provider coordination group that we worked with during the Affordable Connectivity Program. And so I know folks are excited about how the Lifeline broadband pilot is going to fill that gap. And again, one of the things to point out that you said was really helpful during the ATP outreach that we worked with you guys to develop a tracker by zip code that showed where people were getting connected. And it was a good directional tool for local partners who were conducting outreach to see the fruits of their labor. So really excited about that. Thank you very much. On the other side, Diana Rodriguez from Everyone On, you guys really, our partnership is aligned about one of the focuses of the digital equity plan, which is developing tools and resources to support the ecosystem. And can you tell people about the affordable offer locator specific to California with the address level specificity that you're working on and how that's going to be relevant to folks?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thanks so much, Scott, for inviting us to be here and share with folks. Everyone, my name is Diana Rodriguez. I serve as VP of Programs and Strategy with Everyone On. Everyone On is a national nonprofit organization dedicated to unlocking social and economic opportunity by connecting under-resourced families and individuals to affordable internet service, low-cost computers, and digital skills training. And one of our core resources is the offer locator tool that Scott mentioned. It's a free, easy-to-use search platform that is currently already up on our site and connected to the Broadband for All site. It allows community members to find low-cost broadband plans discounted devices and local digital literacy training tailored to their needs. And so thanks to the recent funding from California, we're upgrading that tool specifically for California to deliver precise street address level search results rather than what's currently made available, which is broad zip code matches. And so this shift to address level accuracy is going to directly impact our community members and digital navigators and folks that use this tool by removing the guesswork and preventing false leads to offers that may or may not be available to individual homes inside of those zip codes, and ensuring that the households are matched only with the exact low-cost options available at their specific home address. And this is also including, going back to some of the conversation, the eligibility and provider details for the California Lifeline home broadband pilot program. So that'll be included as part of the results as well.
Yeah, thank you, Diana. We're really excited with the partnership with everyone on to expand that. Folks, it's one of the most commonly used tools on the Broadband for All portal is the current offer locator. But what we have heard repeatedly, and it's really, no fault of folks here for trying, is that given the variability of service coverage in certain areas, that address level doesn't provide, or zip code level doesn't provide as much specificity. So I'm really excited about this partnership, and thank you so much. We'll talk a little bit later about calls to action for that. I wanted to shift now to a conversation about the digital inclusion partners and how they can empower entities with free digital skills training resources for organizations to support their entities. We're gonna be talking with Kat again from CETF, Teresa Slater from North Star, and Aaron Leonatos from Human IT. And so, Kat, we've heard from you already. Let's start with Teresa. Teresa, can you share with us through our partnership how we're going to be empowering folks who would like to leverage the North Star platform?
Yeah, so thank you for having me on, and we're very excited to partner with California. So North Star is a online platform that organizations through CDT are going to have access to help assess and educate individuals on, I would say, kind of foundational or basic computer skills up through mid-level computer skills. So the way it works is someone would take an assessment to see what they already know, and then what there's an opportunity to learn. So they're not wasting their time covering materials they already know. And these assessments really require people to perform the skills so that they are, showing that they know how to do these things. They're short assessments, maybe 7 to 10 minutes. And then everything is tied through what we call standards, or the skills, so that you can see once you've taken the assessment what skills you need to work on. And there's two types of educational materials. One is where the individual would kind of work on their own, more or less, their self-paced online learning. That includes learning, but also practicing and feedback. And then the second type is a curriculum for instructors who are working with individuals. That's really out-of-the-box curriculum, gives you, how to describe something, the words to say, kind of line by line, the exercises to do, worksheets, handouts, etc. And then through the North Star platform, you have access to a wide variety of reports on how individuals are doing, what their needs are, how your organization is doing, so that you can, show your community and your funders what your progress is and how much you've accomplished. So that's what we are offering to, and well, actually that California is offering to all of you, this platform.
Well, it's the partnership that's doing that. And thank you, Teresa. A couple quick questions for you. So I want to underscore, this is an online training platform. So folks who want to leverage it can work with us to obtain a license from you that will train up to 400 residents per location. In terms of language offerings. What's that?
Up to 500 per location.
Yeah, up to 500 pro. It's in English and Spanish right now, the curriculum, which is from beginning to intermediate at your own pace. I think that's important. One of the things we heard during the digital literacy platform is we've got a great funding program through the CPUC, and it's got some requirements that some of our stakeholders requested more flexibility on time, where learners could learn at their own pace, and if they wanted to do it quicker, they could. So, as part of this partnership, there's going to be training for trainers or training for people who want to use this, correct?
Yeah, exactly. So for those organizations who decide to use North Star's platform, we will provide, I will provide training to them, to all your staff members who want to know kind of what you have access to, how to use it, as well as best practices for working with adults on digital literacy. Through the North Star platform, of course, is what we're going to talk about, but more in a bigger, broader picture on just kind of best practices in doing that. So that will be provided live online and will be recorded for those of you who can't, make the actual training.
Awesome, thank you. And so, Kat, going to come back to you. So again, very thankful for CETF's partnership. Can you tell folks about how they can work with you and leverage the digital learn training platform resources that you guys have, and kind of similar to the way we asked, Teresa, how do they get in touch with you? What are some of the key components of the offering, and what kind of training can you make available to folks who decide to work with your platform?
Absolutely. Well, our Digital Learn platform is newly upgraded. I do want to highlight that it is WCAG 2.1 AA compliant with keyboard navigation, captions on all videos. So I'm really excited about the upgraded accessibility that's important to us. It is also available in English and Spanish, and we're working on translations into 5 other languages, including simplified Chinese and Vietnamese and several others that are most frequently asked. The platform is free to absolutely everybody, and it has a wide range of modules that are from very basic to workforce initiative modules, and we are continuing to upgrade that. In particular, we're looking at the the new AI modules coming out. It is a subsite of the Public Library Association that we subscribe to. And so to that end, we get access to a variety of other modules that we are currently adding. If you are a digital navigator, and we'll get to that later, then we also are going to be able to allow you to the back end, where you are going to be able to monitor and track the participants that might be in your program, and track hours and modules, etc. So we're going to make that available to digital navigators specifically. But this platform is currently free. There is an assessment that one will take that will help the learner direct what is going to be most appropriate and to their skill set and needs and what they want to learn. So there's also sort of this interactive assessment that helps folks understand what might be the best modules for them to take. So you can log in today, and we're very excited to work with organizations who want to use it for their cohorts of learners as well.
Thank you so much, Kat, and we're really thankful for the generous partnership with CETF. Now you mentioned, and this actually has come up in some of the past COPs. I want to invite Aaron from Human IT to come here. Folks really recognize that under the umbrella of digital literacy, that AI literacy is part of that it's another tool. And so can you tell us about the partnership between our two groups, and how you're going to be making available artificial intelligence content to folks in California's digital equity ecosystem?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the opportunity. First of all, I just have to say, I feel like I'm on a who's who of who should be in this space. I'm so proud to be part of this community of practice, and thank you so much for the partnership with Human IT. So as you mentioned, Scott, our curriculum does have a module specifically on AI. We also have the basic digital literacy that you've heard from other organizations, and folks are, of course, welcome to use that as well. But one of our modules does focus on AI. And it takes those foundational skills. If someone has maybe heard of it, but they don't know what it means or how it can be applied to with their lives or to their work, all the way up through more advanced applications. And the way that we set up all of our digital literacy training is through interactions with our digital navigators that are on staff at Human IT. So that's where our placement kind of happens. People have the opportunity to share their individual goals, and then our digital navigators help match them with the correct curriculum that will best serve their needs. And all of this is already available for free through our website. We are planning on launching a California-specific landing page that will help direct the other community-based organizations and users within California to the pieces within our partnership as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Erin. And we got a lot to cover still, but kind of can you guys hear me right now?
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
cool.
we can.
Last question for all of you, because I think this would be important. In terms of when organizations use your platforms and resources to train people, are there like certificates or badging systems, things like that, that can signify that folks have completed their training? Let's start with you, Erin, and then go Teresa and Kat.
Short answer is yes. There's tracking within our system that shows what's been completed. And then, of course, those touch points with the digital navigator helps with that as well to ensure that people are on the correct path for their own goals.
Teresa?
And North Star also, so we have 18 different topics, and for each topic, if you pass the assessment at 85% or higher, then you can get a digital badge, and if it's proctored, meaning someone's watching you take the test, you can get a paper certificate, which people love. They start crying about. They put it up on their walls. It's very, very meaningful for people who are especially learning digital skills.
Great. Thank you. What about you, Kat?
Yes, absolutely. We have certificates. Many of our modules are multi-module lessons, and when you complete those, yes, there is a certificate that the learner is named on, and the work, the skills they've learned is also named on there. So yes, absolutely.
Great. Well, thank you very much. And I see there's a question in the chat, how people can get connected. We're going to demo a sign up form on the Broadband for All portal after this. Wanted to shift to a big focus of the state digital equity plan and ongoing efforts in California was around digital navigation. Those are folks within organizations or communities who are supporting, doing assessments, and either referring or connecting and sometimes empowering people, individual residents to needs. We have a goal to train 300 digital navigators over the next year, and to increase the incidence or hours of digital navigation by a very large number. And so we're going to talk with both Digital Lift and with CETF. And then we're also going to talk about services. So we're going to talk about training for organizations, training for individuals within organizations, and then actual digital navigation resources are already available. So Sabrina, don't have to say everything at once because you're going to talk first. I want you to share with people. One of the unique things about our partnership is you guys are going to be providing a certain amount of trainings for organizations who want to begin a digital inclusion program, maybe don't know where to start. So it's this digital inclusion program management. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Sure. Thank you, Scott. Hi, everyone. I'm Sabrina Tam, Associate Director of Programs at Digital Lift. And so for partners who are maybe building a new digital inclusion program or expanding an existing one, we have trainings or resources for program managers and supervisors. We offer a 12-hour self-paced manager training, followed by a 90 minutes debrief session online with a live instructor. And it's also designed to be flexible. You start with an organizational diagnostic needs assessment, and based on the results, you can complete the full 12-hour training or select individual modules that's based on your specific needs for your organizations. So that's our support for organizations.
That's fantastic. And so who would this be good for? I mean, you said either someone starting a digital inclusion program or expanding one. So I imagine that could run the gamut from like rural libraries, potentially tribal entities, community-based organizations, even government organizations.
All of that, yes.
Yeah,
And like
that's
affordable
great. And
housing. Mhm.
well, thank you very much. That's super important because I know that we got some questions in the registration about these kind of resources and appreciate how our partnership is making that free of charge to those organizations. So thank you. Now we want to shift to actual training of digital navigators. And so listen, we understand that digital equity capacity and competitive grant dollars went, that was going to do a lot to provide capacity. But we're trying to do what we can with the resources we currently have available to support organizations who want to train existing staff or volunteers to be digital navigators in their community. This is absolutely critical. So super excited to share the partnerships that we have with both CTF and Digital Lift to provide free digital navigator training to existing staff and volunteers. So, Kat, can you give us a quick, kind of how is that working with CETF? How are folks, what's the experience going to be like?
Absolutely. So we have a 20-hour digital navigator training that is synchronous online. We really see a digital navigator as a job. And so our training starts from outreach, cultural competency, through digital literacy training, enrollments, and track and reporting what you need to track and what you need to report. So it's a 20-hour program. And it's certified by CSU Chico. So we did that again for the validation that this is work that needs to be done. We do actually charge for this program. However, through our partnership with CDT, we are going to be training 250 digital navigators that sign up through your program, and we'll do that in cohorts of 20 or less. So we're really excited about getting these certified California digital navigators out into the field in California.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Kat. So through CETF, synchronized online 20 hours of training, the end of it, certification through CSU. Now, during the digital equity planning process, we understood that there were different organizations had different needs and different capacity and different. So what we wanted to try to do is be sensitive and have like another option. And so Sabrina, can you tell us about the exciting digital navigator training that Digital Lift is doing? If go from there.
So for staff working directly with community members or even volunteers working directly with the community members, we offer a 6-hour self-paced digital navigator training. Also follow up by a 90 minutes live debrief session with one of our instructors on Zoom. It provides practical skills in digital navigation, internet safety, and learner support. Besides that, we have 4 optional specialized modules, digital equity and aging population, healthcare, libraries, and public benefits enrollment. These are ranging from 1 to 3 hours. These are for agencies that look for training that are more tailored to the population that they serve. But both the manager training and the digital navigator training, these are available in English only for now, but all the participating agencies will have access to our multilingual curriculum library, English, Spanish, Chinese, and some in Tagalog, ready to use materials that you can use to deliver digital literacy classes in the communities. So our training is shorter on self-paced, followed up by a live debrief section. You will receive a certificate from a digital lift, not from a accredited university. So that's the difference. Yeah, so.
Well, and thank you. It's really to both of you. I think it's absolutely fabulous partnerships that we have. And again, one of the focuses of our digital equity plan and all of our efforts based on what folks have told us, and I think what continues to come back here is meeting organizations and communities where they are. And, whether your staff have time to do a 20-hour, program or a 6-hour program, I wanted to provide some variety and some choice. And so very cool and excited to start that immediately. Cool. So on digital navigation, there's the organizational, there's the training of the staff, and then there's actually services available. And we've had some 2 great partnerships with Human IT, which has offered to provide digital navigation services and tech support on devices, and then CETF. Hope I didn't freeze. So I'm wondering, Erin, can you go first if you can hear me?
Absolutely, and I can hear you just fine. I briefly discussed our digital navigation services, so I'll touch on that briefly again. We feel that navigation is really the piece that ties all of the digital inclusion efforts together. It's that one-on-one, individualized, relationship that is established between the learner and the digital navigator that really brings success. And those navigators, as I mentioned, can assess what a person needs. So, speaking to Scott's point about meeting people where they are, if that's a device or help getting connected to the internet, the digital literacy training itself, or all of the above, it really, it helps maintain that journey for the learner. And we do offer this, in both English and Spanish. And so we are proud to offer that bilingual support for folks. Every one of our navigators is bilingual. So when you reach out to a navigator, you'll be able to speak to them in your preferred language. And really, this is, the difference between handing someone a device or sending them to a website to do a training and hoping they get the job done versus following them down that path. The other piece, would you like me to speak to the technical support piece now, or would you like me to wait on that?
Yeah, briefly. I think the technical support is really a unique part of our partnership with you.
Absolutely. And I agree. This is something that we are so proud to be able to offer, and something that doesn't always come with a device in our experience. So our technical support is ongoing support for individuals who have received devices through our programs, through our distributions. We do provide free virtual one-on-one tech support, so that any device that ends up in a community member's hands, if something goes wrong with it, or people need help connecting peripherals and connecting to the internet and things like that, we can offer that ongoing help. And it's also one of our best satisfaction signals that we track. Over 97% of people that we serve have reported that they're satisfied with our tech support, and 66% of them had never had access to a service like that prior to working with human IT. So again, something that, you know, just adds that extra layer of ensuring that people are getting the services that they need in this partnership.
And we're really excited about the you know, just overall the partnership with the tech support's really super cool. Now, Kat, going to you. A reoccurring thing, CTF, thank you for applying to many of the challenges in providing really substantive partnerships there. You talked about the call center earlier. So we talked about in the context of enrollment assistance, but in terms of like how it supports digital navigation, can you tell us briefly about that?
100%. Yeah. So, I will say through our digital navigator program, what those digital navigators leave with toolkits. So there are curriculum, facilitator guides, decks, outreach materials, etc. So those digital navigators that are on the ground have all the tools and resources they need. When it comes to the enrollment support, you know, again, uh, our call center agents who do that digital navigation actually are following through from actually understanding the needs, getting the connection, and then following up to make sure installation happened. And then make sure that those folks who did get enrolled into affordable internet then get into a digital literacy class. And so our digital navigators that are going to be out in the field are going to be providing that digital literacy class, and we'll also be referring folks back to our call center who will be doing that digital navigation one-on-one with the residents.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And I'm talking to my team that our optimism, ambition have gotten the better of us and that we're kind of running behind. So we're going to want to shorten the next couple of sections a little bit. On devices, which I think is something we'll have to do a comeback on. CTF, I'm gonna do this, Kat. So our partnership with you guys is to expand the personal device ownership ecosystem in California through the California Green Technology Initiative. And so an opportunity to really divert surplus computing devices to regional refurbishers and then distribute those out through nonprofits to residents of need to address that gap that was identified in the state digital equity plan. Aaron at Human IT, in like 1 minute, you're a partner in the California Green Technology Initiative, and Human IT is a resource for folks on this call to get no-cost, low-cost devices out to folks. Could you just tell us real quick about that?
Yes, absolutely. And I promise to be brief. I totally agree. The devices are the foundation that everything else builds on. It doesn't matter if you have these skills if you don't have a device that you can use in your own home, you know, in the privacy that you have there. And we do run a fully circular model, as Scott mentioned. We take in donated tech, if that's from enterprise level or individuals looking to get rid of the devices that they're no longer using. Maybe they've upgraded or just, you know, no longer use a device in their own homes. We take those in and fully wipe them of all of the data. You receive a certificate of data destruction when you donate a device to us, whether it's enterprise level or individual. We ensure that your data is securely removed. And then that device is refurbished and put back out into the community at a low or no cost, depending on the needs of the individual receiving that device. And so we are part of the Green Tech Initiative, as Kat and Scott mentioned. And so we are hoping to increase awareness and utilization of that initiative to fund this circular model that we employ in California and across the country.
really important. Thank you so much, Aaron. I think we're going to have to come back and do a whole big session on devices because folks have been calling for that. I want to do a quick pivot back to our digital equity data refinement partners who had their own session last week. Just again, Kat, like during the digital equity planning process, we partnered with CTF to do a kind of multimodal digital equity survey, which will be on the telephone, but then an online computer-friendly version. That's really targeted to get rolling, or not get rolling, but to be done at the beginning of 2027. What are two things people should be thinking about? Like in under 1 minute, you know.
Sure. One thing somebody can think about is what is the most prevalent piece of data that you might need in order to continue this work, because we are interested in collecting questions to add to this to these surveys when it comes. And number two, how can you help get the word out on these surveys so that we get the most participation? So as you said, we have the RDD survey, the statewide survey, and then we're going to have this online modality where we're hoping we can have you all participate in getting folks to complete.
And the online form that we have is going to have a place for folks to indicate their desire to work with that. Patrick and Cynthia from East Bay Broadband Consortia, the K-12 technology assessment and report. Real quick, under a minute, what are you doing, and do you have a call to action for folks?
All right, y'all. We can't solve a problem we haven't clearly defined, and our schools and students need our help. The East Bay Broadband Consortium has two simple, ready-to-use tech check questions that help districts understand whether students have reliable home internet and a computer for schoolwork. The questions have been refined over years with Alameda County Schools, translated into multiple languages for families, and designed to drop seamlessly into existing student information system workflows, so the lift for districts is very light. And there's more. Participating districts can also receive a stipend for integrating these questions into their back to school process. With back to school right around the corner, this is the moment to get involved. Cynthia?
Yeah, and this is where we could really use the help of everyone on this call. We're looking for a small group of districts to participate in this pilot. We want a mix of rural, urban, suburban, tribal serving communities so that the data is reflective of students' experiences across California and not just one type of district. And as Patrick said, because school is starting soon, we're hoping to identify partners within the next couple of weeks to integrate these questions. But we're also interested in connecting with districts that might already be capturing this information just to learn more about their efforts. So if anyone on this call knows of a district that might be interested in participating or that's already collecting this information, maybe your student school, you're filling out their back to school registration and you see that this is a question, please let us know. We'd really love to connect and we can share more information later.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks, Patrick and Cynthia. So if you're a school or a school district, or if you're folks who work with a school or school district, drop it in the chat or sign up on the online form and we'll connect you up with them. I think I do want to give some time to Amy Huffman from the National Digital Inclusion Alliance, because one of the things that we've acknowledged is that, whether it's, Broadband for All, the state digital equity plan, there's no single funding source that's going to get this done. There's no single entity that's going to close the digital divide. So, Amy, tell us about the California specific digital equity aggregator, why it's important, and what it means for all of us.
Thanks, Scott, and thanks to all of you for being here. It's such a pleasure to get to be with all the folks in California, where I'm sure the weather's much nicer than it is here in North Carolina. So the Digital Inclusion Impact Aggregator, let me just back up real quick and give you a sentence or two on what it is. It's a comprehensive suite of resources that's intended to help you all evaluate programs across your entire digital inclusion ecosystem. And then you can assess impacts at different levels, right? Whether that's a specific strategy like digital navigators or across your entire ecosystem, because all this work is so important. We want to make sure that we're able to really show the impact, right? How growth is happening from 2026 to 2030. And so we're working with the CDT team to tailor. We already have this aggregator and it comes with a different suite of tools, right? To tailor it to California specific programs. Because as Scott said, all the one program's not going to solve the digital divide. And as we've seen on this call, you have multiple programs working simultaneously to solve different aspects of the digital divide in California. But, in the past, we haven't really had a way to aggregate the data or put it together to be able to show impact. And that's what the aggregator will do. So it'll take
So
data
Amy,
from.
let me just throw it in there. Let me just throw in some California based stuff for folks. So at the state level, you've got the California Broadband Council and all of its members, CDT, PUC, CTF, the state libraries, the Department of Education. You've got our partner orgs like Housing Community Development. So everyone is doing some work or another, not always quantified in the same place. But then outside of that, you've got all these regional and local efforts in Los Angeles and San Jose and San Diego and Bakersfield and Ukiah and all these other places that are simultaneously doing work. And there's these different funding programs. And so, what we're working with you on is to create something that helps people just provide like aggregated, impact data, not publicly, not PII or stuff like that. To just say, hey, how are we moving the needle?
That's right. That's exactly right. So an organization, for example, would note how many households they'd serve with digital navigator services. So one organization inputs that data, another organization does too, and then the state's able to say, hey, look, this is what we're collectively doing. So you can see the collective impact. The goal is, again, to really understand how the needle's moving, taking the data from the baseline surveys that CTF and Patrick and Cynthia are leading, right? And be able to show progression in the future. This also helps all of you on this call to be able to show your impact so that for future funding opportunities, or also to be able to present our case to the federal government, right? Like why this work matters and how it's impacting real lives.
Fantastic. Well, more to come on that because I know we're working with NDIA and we're going to do some sort of short focus group, then larger focus group with different demographics. And again, in California, don't want to leave anyone out. We've got our broadband consortia, we've got our tribal communities, we've got our adult schools, other folks like that. So really excited about this partnership. Thank you, Amy. So staff is telling me we're running out of time. We're going to skip over online educational and workforce development resources. We'll come back and talk about those, but they are on the sign up form. We are making arrangements to provide access to free online educational and workforce development resources. Want to thank all of our digital inclusion partnerships. I'm being told that there were questions. Mark will get an answer from CETF about assisting people enrolling in Lifeline program. I think the answer is yes. Is there a website for the program, Zachary? We're going to show you that. Is the date, time, and topic completed available specific for download? I'm assuming that's Digital Navigator and Digital Literacy training. We'll get answers for that, probably get a Q&A up on the thing. And then okay, cool. We will have something on the Green Tech Initiative. Want to thank all the digital inclusion partners for your time and effort and partnership. We look forward to working with you and all of our ecosystem partners over the next year to come. Okay. let me see, Ann and team. Oh no, I'm going to hand it over to Sean. Sean, can you show people the form where they can sign up to leverage these services, please?
Sure, absolutely. It is on the Broadband for All portal. So do we want to just bring up that page on the Broadband for All portal? Great. So this is a form that just went live, a page that just went live, and you'll see all of the partnerships named that we just heard from, all the wonderful individuals, and a little bit of description of the work, but you are now more informed. And then right down at the bottom, you'll see it says Digital Tools and Resources Sign Up Form. So this is where, if your organization has the capacity and is ready to, really take advantage and engage with these resources, it's a simple form. We're looking for an organizational name, website, some very basic contact information. That acknowledgement is a required part of the form. Thank you. I think it's Ricky who might be driving the slides. Thank you, or Anna. And then down below is all of the resources and the partnerships that were just identified. If you as an organization are, ready to take advantage of one of the versions of a digital literacy training we just learned about, or maybe it's a digital navigator training for a member of your staff or team, or, I think scrolling down, we have, remote digital navigation, device access, the ways to engage with the data refinement. So, none of those, you can pick and choose what is best for you organizationally. And then when you hit submit form, excuse me, that'll go back to the OBDL team, and we'll make sure to share information and make sure that those connections are made. So this is a form that we've created to help make it easy for the organizations that are ready to take advantage of these opportunities are able to quickly do so. And I know that was a quick run through. We can pull up one slide where there is a QR code where folks are able to access this. And I think we're probably going to drop a link in the chat. And let's see. Thanks, Ricky. There we go. There's the QR code at the bottom. And then obviously it fits in two simple images, so it's a very short form. But if we want to head to the next slide, I think I'm going to pass things off to Araceli.
Thank you so much, Sean. Hi, everyone. We're going to just jump right in and go over some grant opportunities. Next slide, please. First is a Native Entities Grant Program. Just wanted to inform everyone that the NTIA did announce this week that they are extending the application deadline by 60 days. It was originally September 17th, and the new deadline is November 17th. Next slide, please. The other grant, also by the NTIA, is a Tribal Broadband Connectivity Program. This also has a new deadline of November 17th. So just wanted to make sure that folks are aware of these upcoming grant opportunities. And you will see that there are two different types of funding for the TBCP. Next slide, please. Next, of course, we always want to remind folks about upcoming grant opportunities by the Public Utilities Commission. You'll see the grant deadlines have been updated here as well. But as a reminder, you can submit your applications at any time on a rolling basis. Next slide. For the Digital Divide Grant Program, this is round 4 with a deadline of October 30th, and you can use the QR code here to get more information. Next slide. And to wrap up, we do have a private grant opportunity at the Anthropic Grant Program. This is a opportunity for young adults to be working across different nonprofits, and they will get paid up to $85,000 annually. So this is another great opportunity, second cohort that they are now enrolling in. So these are our most up-to-date grant funding opportunities.
Thank you. Thanks, Araceli. We're running late. Appreciate it. Want to remind folks that all of this information will be sent out when the slides are posted online. Want to, as best we can, finish close to being on time. Could we bring Ann back, please?
Right here. Well, thank you, everyone. Thanks, Arceli, and all of our panelists. I'm glad that there's so much engagement, and so wanted to let you all know that our community of practice is occurring monthly on Thursday, 10:30 to noon. Our upcoming one is on Thursday, August 27. Both the link to the August COP is community practice is in the chat, as well as the QR code here. So wanted to make sure you all registered and have the opportunity to connect with our guest speakers as well as CDT, CPUC staff. But also with that, I would like to announce that this is actually my last community of practice as your CDT facilitator. You all are in great hand. I will be taking an opportunity and will stay close to the work of digital equity. But you all are, it's very exciting what we're seeing next. And so, yeah, thank you so much. Slides down, please. I didn't realize it was still on. But I will miss all of you, and I want to send my gratitude for all the partners that have been working closely with us since 2021, 22 with the digital equity planning process and all the way to now in the implementation stage. So really great work, and I hope you all sign up for the Digital Inclusion Partnership resources, and this is just the beginning. So thank you all for that. And yes, we will see you next time as a participant.
Just wanting to make sure we didn't miss an opportunity to, on behalf of the Department of Technology and the Office of Broadband and Digital Literacy, even the administration, you have been such a foundational team player of, for Broadband for All, for building our office, for establishing our digital equity program, from all of the, building the network of stakeholders to, the Broadband for All portal and the email updates and the community practices. We will miss you very much, and we're very thankful for everything you've contributed, and I'm sure folks here are as well. We wish you the best of luck. We know you're going to do great things as you've done here. So thank you. And if anyone on the call here, I know we're over, wanted to, say something to Anne, we will keep it open. See, Patrick said you're a rock star.
Thank you, Patrick. Thanks, Aaron, and all the comments in the chat. This is not the end, and I'll be a participant. So not in a facilitator role, but I'll be here. Thanks so much for making time, and thank you for the kind words, Scott. It has been an absolutely blast doing this work. So more to come. All right. Well, thank you all. I know we had to skip some questions because of our time, but we will take it back and circle back with folks who added questions in Q&A, and we'll comb through our chat as well to make sure your questions aren't lost in the chat. Yes, and I'll be here till next Friday, so we'll still be doing this and making sure that your questions are answered, so not lost on us. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Have a great afternoon.
Thanks, y'all. We'll miss you, Anne.
Thank you, Patrick. We'll see you around. Bye, everyone. Thank you, Corey. Thank you, Jessica. Bye-bye. Oh, Sybil, I see that you're trying to speak, so we're gonna.
Very informative, very helpful. I'm so happy to see where everything is now. I started working on this stuff in 1996 with and kind of off, now more focused on overall senior services, but I'm so happy to see everything continuing so well. I was back in the B-top and NTIA, TIAAP period and all of that. But I worked with Sunny early on to work on getting California in line and on the case, and you guys are just doing a wonderful job. Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us. Yeah, the work continues, right? Thank you. Have a great afternoon.
See, I'm an old person myself now.
Cool. Still young. Still. All right. We'll close the meeting. I think folks, most of folks are signed off. So thank you all. Thanks, Luke.